Before I give you these 7 signs, I need to say something about timing. People often ask me how to know when God is moving in a situation, how to distinguish between genuine spiritual activity and their own hope generating a false reading of the circumstances. It's a fair question, and the answer I always give is this: look for clusters. One sign in isolation can be coincidence. 2 signs together begin to be significant. 3 or more signs occurring simultaneously in the same season is not coincidence. That is the hand of God actively working in your circumstances. As I walk through these 7 signs, I want you to be honest with yourself. Don't count a sign just because you want it to be there, but also don't dismiss a sign because you're afraid to hope. Let what is actually true be your data. If any 3 or more of these 7 signs are present in your life right now, simultaneously, not across several different seasons, God is actively dismantling what was built against you. Not planning to, not eventually going to, actively doing it right now. And understanding that is not just emotionally reassuring, it changes how you pray, how you position yourself, and what decisions you make in the coming weeks. Let's go through them. First, I want to acknowledge what it feels like to be on the receiving end of something being built against you. When an enemy constructs something against you, a narrative, a coalition, a spiritual assignment, a structural obstacle, it does not arrive announced. It doesn't come with a label. You don't receive a notification saying something is being organized against your progress. You feel it first, before you understand it. A heaviness that doesn't have a natural source. Doors that close without explanation, relationships that cool without incident, opportunities that approach and then recede without completing, a sense of moving through resistance that has no identifiable cause. And because the source is invisible, most people spend the early stages of being under construction attack blaming themselves, running audits of their own behavior, wondering what they did wrong, what they need to change, what spiritual discipline they are lacking that is producing these results. The self-blame is one of the most effective features of this kind of opposition. If the target is busy questioning themselves, they are not praying against the actual source of the problem. But something is shifted, and these 7 signs are the evidence of that shift. The theological foundation for what I'm about to share is simple but important. What is built on a lie cannot stand permanently in the presence of God's truth. This is not optimistic theology. This is a statement about the nature of spiritual reality. Every structure, relational, vocational, financial, reputational, that was built through dishonesty, manipulation, or spiritual corruption carries within it the seed of its own dissolution. God does not need to destroy it from the outside. He simply needs to stop sustaining it, to withdraw the grace that has been allowing it to function beyond its natural lifespan. And when that grace is withdrawn, structures built on wrong foundations collapse under their own weight. The 7 signs I'm about to describe are the indicators that God has withdrawn His sustaining grace from what was built against you. And what is happening now is not construction, it is controlled demolition. Let me acknowledge something before we get to the signs. The building season, the period when the opposition was at its most active, when the structure being built against you was fresh and functional and producing maximum damage, was genuinely hard. I don't want to rush past that to get to the signs of its destruction without honoring what you carried during the building. There was a period where you did not know if things were going to turn, where the weight of what was being directed against you was heavy enough that it affected not just your external circumstances, but your internal landscape, your faith, your sense of God's nearness, your ability to pray with the confidence that anything was going to change. Some of you hit a wall in that season, not a wall of unbelief, a wall of exhaustion, where the spiritual practice of maintaining hope in the face of sustained opposition became for a period something you could only do in the most minimal way, where survival was the prayer, where just staying in relationship with God, even a bruised and confused relationship, was the full extent of what you had. That season is ending, and the 7 signs are the evidence. Repented or changed, but because God has given them something of their own to deal with. Sign 2. You have an unexplained peace in a specific area that used to be a consistent source of anxiety, not in everything, in one specific area.
That peace is not your emotional management improving. That is the pressure in that area being spiritually relieved. Sign 3. Doors that were closed and that you stopped knocking on are beginning to crack open, without your effort, without your campaigning, quietly from the inside. Sign 4. Someone who was previously in the opposing camp is reaching back toward you, through an apology, through an overture of reconnection, through a gesture that is clearly an attempt to reestablish a connection they chose to sacrifice. That is the coalition beginning to fracture. Sign 5. Your dreams are shifting. The warfare imagery dreams, the dreams of pursuit, of conflict, of being in dangerous or constrained spaces, are giving way to dreams of open environments, water, elevation, green spaces, flight. Your spirit is receiving something in the night that your natural mind has not yet caught up with. Sign 6. Resources are arriving from directions you were not cultivating. Unexpected income, unexpected provision, unexpected professional recognition from sources you had no direct relationship with. This is God creating supply lines that bypass the channels the enemy had access to. Sign 7. A specific, located sense of spiritual release, not a general emotional uplift, a specific feeling, in a specific area of your life, in your body even, of something lifting. A weight that you had become so accustomed to carrying that you had stopped noticing it as weight, suddenly absent. Count your signs. How many are active in your life right now? Comment the number. No explanation needed, just the number. And if you are at 3 or more, I need you to also comment active demolition, because that is what is happening, and naming it in agreement with what God is doing is part of how you cooperate with the process. Comment your number. Comment active demolition if you are at 3 or more. Subscribe because I am doing a specific teaching on how to spiritually position yourself during a season of divine demolition, what to do, what not to do, and how to be ready to build on the cleared ground. I'll see you in the next one.